Mercury is turning direct. I know you're all really excited about that. So I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about where Mercury is turning direct, what it's in aspect to, and then we'll go quickly through all signs and tell you what it means for you. I'm also going to have a quick look at the Sabian and Chandra symbols for the station direct. And, you know, I'm going to mix things up a little bit, and I'd love your comments, but while you subscribe as well and give me the thumbs up and give me some likes. But I'm not going to share charts this time. I'm just going to talk and tell you what's happening. Tell me which you prefer. I know I'm going to get mixed responses, but I feel like mixing it up. My Gemini moon loves it. Okay, so here we go. Mercury stations direct on January the 18th, 2023 at 8:11 a.m. Eastern time. So that's 5:11 a.m. Pacific time, 6:11 a.m. Mountain time where I am, 7:11 a.m. in Central time. For the UK, that is 1:11 p.m. And sorry, Australia, New Zealand, anywhere else in the world, if you work it out from 1:11 p.m. Universal Time on January the 18th, for London time, you can work out your times when Mercury is stationing direct. Now then, Mercury is stationing direct at 8 degrees and 8 minutes of Capricorn. And Mercury is stationing conjunct Centaur Pholus. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. At the same time, we've always also got Centaur Chariklo at 8 degrees of Aquarius. But the most important aspect is that Mercury is stationing in a Quincunx aspect to Mars in Mercury-ruled Gemini, and Mars only turned direct on the 12th at 8 degrees Gemini. So these two are in an almost exact aspect. So before I go on to what that means, let's have a little look at what the 8 means. Now, 8 is a number that, you know, is associated with business and power and money, but there's a lot more to it than that. Okay, now 8, if you look at it, is 2 circles on top of each other. It creates a balance between the material and spiritual worlds. At its best, it's spiritual and materialistic, but it's really a number of strength, okay, and balance. It's the great kind of karmic equalizer. It's a force that creates as efficiently as it destroys. When the 8 comes knocking, it's about time to reap what you've sown. And I think we've seen some of that already with Mars stationing direct in Gemini. And now Mercury, because Mercury rules Gemini and they're in aspect to each other, this is going to amplify this energy of chickens coming home to roost, as I love to call it, or reaping what you sow. So for the 8, on the material plane, it's really focused on results. It's not always about money, but it's definitely about results. And in Capricorn, Mercury stationing direct at 8 Capricorn, this is about really the structures of our society reaping what they've sown, but also in your personal life. It's really kind of about, have you mastered things enough? Have you learned enough lessons that you can build from here? Have you sown enough seeds that you can really start to move towards achieving what you want? So really that's kind of the 8. It's goal-oriented, it's focused, it's a discriminate and a realist, and got great strength. So we've got 2 8s there. Now this aspect between Mercury and Mars is a quincunx, and that's an aspect of adjustment. Mars in Gemini was retrograde from October the 30th to January the 12th. And the two traveled almost the same degrees, all right. Mercury stationed retrograde at 24 degrees 21 Capricorn, and that was on December the 29th. Mars had stationed retrograde on October the 30th at 25 degrees Gemini 36. So just about a degree apart in this quincunx aspect, even though there was 2 months between the stations retrograde. Mars first, then Mercury. And now here they are. They're both stationed within days of each other at 8 degrees. To my mind, this fact they're traveling the same path virtually is hugely important. And there's kind of a mutual reception going on here, because Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn and Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. So we've got some real reflection, redoing, regeneration, revisiting, all the rewords going on between our action, which is Mars, our will, our drive, our tendency to aggression, and then our thoughts, our mind, our perceptions. And they're working with each other, the two of them. So this has been a real interesting dance going on. And, you know, I'm going to talk a little bit about the all signs. I also did a Mars direct video, which will give you a similar process. Okay, so this aspect of adjustment between the two, even though they're speaking to each other by this mutual reception, is really asking us to think about our drive to achieve, to think about our perceptions around community as well, and how we interact with others, and how we speak to others, our voice, our thoughts, our perceptions, and how we take action on those thoughts, perceptions, and our voice. And so it's been a very interesting journey, as I said. Now, I also mentioned that Mercury will station direct conjunct Centaur Pholus. Now, Pholus takes the lid off things. That's kind of his phrase. He's kind of the ultimate, like Pandora's box, if you think about it. And in Capricorn, he's taking the lid off our institutions, but also our relationship to the institutions and our relationship to authority. Pholus has really, along with Pluto in Capricorn, been revealing kind of the systems that are not working in our own lives and in the institutions of our governments and collectively. It feels like the lid has come off completely, and that all the detritus and the corruption and the wobbly structures are really starting to show their weaknesses. But here comes Mercury conjunct Pholus with take the lid off it. Mercury is stationing, saying, all right, so we've been reflecting on all of this, and now we can change our perceptions and change how we think and get new ideas to work forward and to achieve and shore up the structures that we that are worth keeping, or create structures where they've totally kind of collapsed. We are in a 7 universal year, and that tends to, whilst it's kind of the most spiritual of numbers, it's also got a little bit of tower card energy to it, because often something needs to, some house of cards needs to fall down before we can build on this more spiritual plane. And the 8's really reflecting that as well, with this mix of the matter and the spirit. It's saying, all right, we need to find this balance now to move to infinity when we turn the 8 on the side. Now, I also mentioned that Chariklo, Centaur Chariklo, is also at 8 degrees. She is in a semi-sextile to Mercury, and she is in a trine to Mars. So she's working more harmoniously with Mars. And Chariklo in Aquarius, I see her as a little bit like a spider, a lucky money spider, weaving a new web and creating new stories. Aquarius is in the sign of hopes and wishes, and we're heading into the age of Aquarius. And so Chariklo is weaving this new story, saying, how do we want this to look? She's taking all the old stories, spinning the wool, weaving something new. I have a very clear image in my head of Chariklo sitting there telling the stories at her spinning wheel, with her also with a loom, so she can spin and weave and spin and weave. And I actually see her with a group of beings, whatever you want to call them, in front of her, telling her the stories. And she kind of takes the threads of all these stories and recreates this beautiful picture from them. So I find it interesting that all three of these energies are at 8 degrees on this station direct. One other thing I should mention when Mercury stations direct is that Mercury stationed retrograde only 3 degrees away from Pluto, and Pluto is finishing his journey in the sign of Capricorn. And the Sun and Pluto are conjunct on this Mercury station. So not only are we going to have a turn of planetary direction, the Sun is having the annual meeting with Pluto at 28 degrees, which is a 2 + 8 is 10, is a 1. New beginnings. I'm so sure new things are happening this year. We've got many signs pointing to that. But overall, this Mercury station is really going to be about changing your perceptions and moving forward on those changed perceptions and moving forward with your actions. How are you going to really climb the mountain now? Mars in Capricorn, as I said, is in its sign of exaltation, and Mercury's in Mars' sign of exaltation. Mars and Capricorn are determined, and that's very of the 8 as well. This is determination and grit. Particularly by the time Mercury reaches the point it's stationed retrograde at, which will come on February the 7th, 2023, you'll really feel ready to move forward, and you're kind of retracing some steps between January the 18th and February the 7th. But after February the 7th, it's really time to start pushing and moving forward, right? Okay. So I'm going to read the Chandra symbols for, or the symbols for the station, Mercury station, and then we're going to go through all signs. Okay. So Capricorn 9, because we always go up. The symbols start at 1 and the degrees start at 0. So if you ever look at the symbols yourself, you can Google them easily. Sabian symbols, Chandra symbols. If you're looking at, say, like this, 8 degrees and 8 minutes, then you go up to 9. And incidentally, in case you hadn't noticed, Mercury is stationing direct at a double 8. So it's double the strength. Okay, so the Sabian symbol is an angel carrying a harp. The Rudyard's keynote is a revelation of the spiritual meaning and purpose at the core of any life situation. This picture, Rudyard says, simply says that heaven is within us. All we have to do is be open and listen, which is very Mercury, to the total harmony of life. A harmony in which we play a part that is necessary to the completeness and meaning of the whole. In order to do this, we have to surrender our separative ego consciousness and flow with the universal current, which, to the religiously minded person, is the will of God. This is the 4th symbol of the series. The technique it implies is that of attunement to the rhythm of universal life. Angels are to be considered personalizations of various aspects of this life and totally subservient to its rhythms and purposes. So attunement to the heaven that's within us, the spiritual meaning and purpose, the bringing spirit into matter, the 8. Now then, let's look at the Chandra symbol. Okay, so Capricorn 9. A woman washes a man's feet and dries them with her hair. This is the Magdalene. Unfallen light becomes a force to be reckoned with, for it seeks to renew the world. Small things add up here as ritual pervades, greater worlds being called in to mediate, guide, heighten, restore, and heal. Your intuitive faculties are resplendent with inner pictures, something great to be done in small steps taken up from within, a great journey from the origin of the world to full creative power of the living spirit enacted faithfully. Wow. So, you know, if you take both of them, you know, both the Sabian symbol and the Capricorn symbol, they both have this feeling of ritual. The angel playing a harp, playing this song of revelation, of spiritual meaning and purpose at the core of every life situation. And then we have the ritual of the woman washing the man's feet and drying them with her hair. The creative power of the living spirit. So, you know, I just actually have a really good feeling that when Mars and Mercury have gained their speed, Mercury's going to take a few days, 5 days either side to gain speed. We're really going to start to feel that push. Then even more after the new moon that's on the 21st and Uranus stations direct on the 22nd. Okay, so this is very, very powerful. So bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to get my chart up and look where we are. So all these all signs forecasts are mainly for rising signs. If you know your chart, then look at your rising sign or listen to your rising sign. If you don't, look at your sun sign. You can look at both as well. If you don't have your chart or don't know your chart, at both astro.com and astro-seek.com have excellent free chart calculation facilities, and they usually have a thing where they show you all the symbols as well, so you can find out what your rising sign is. All you need to do, I'm going to show you quickly, then I'm going to stop the share again. All you need to do is look to the east. Okay, this is the east on the chart because it's kind of flipped, and the symbol on this line on the east is your rising sign. So you'll need to go and create your chart and look at that. Okay, so Capricorn rising, we're going to start with you because Mercury is stationing direct in your first house, and that means it's all about you, all about your identity, who you are, your persona, the face you put out on the world. With Capricorn rising can tend to be a little reserved, a little bit cold appearing, but also kind of is the Benjamin Button of rising signs. It kind of loosens a little as it gets older. I'd be interested to know if most of you Capricorn risings have found this Mercury retrograde has kind of been loosening up your presence a little bit in the world and saying, hey, you know, I may be this Capricorn determined person with very strong boundaries, but I'm also rethinking how I operate in the world. It's in aspect to Mars, as I said, and Mars is currently, well, on this station, is in your area of service, health, routines. So you may be particularly determined because the first house is also about your appearance that you put out to the world. You may be determined, as Mercury turns direct, to perhaps start building a new exercise and diet regime, and to really work on your appearance, on kind of straightening things out and taking the time with that strong determination of Capricorn to just alter your appearance a little bit, tidy it up, shall we say. So that's where that's happening for you. Okay, on to Aquarius Rising. Aquarius Rising, this for you has been a very interesting journey because it's been in the area of connection with the divine, the mystery, the muse, the connection with the collective unconscious. So you may have been breaking down some barriers for your connection with the collective unconscious and the muse and the creative energy of kind of Piscean chaos, not the kind of channeled creativity really that you know, is different to kind of learning fine art, so to speak. And you know, Aquarius Rising, you are very quirky and unique anyway, but you are Saturn ruled, and sometimes there's perhaps some blocks to really, you're very sciencey, you like the detail, you like the patterns. This Mercury retrograde has been loosening up any blocks that you may have to tuning in and trusting your intuition. And so you'll be moving forward in that area of life. And Mars is in the creative self-expression area of your chart. So the drive to create may be very strong for you, Aquarius risings. Okay. Now then, for Pisces rising, this is all for you to have. This retrograde has been about groups of friends, organizations, perhaps some causes, or even politics if you're interested in politics. You may have been reflecting and reviewing during the Mercury retrograde on your relationship to certain groups and organizations and rethinking your position. And also to a degree about Mars is that aspect between Mars and Mercury. Mars is in your inner home, or the area of your actual physical home. So you may be reflecting on your balance between your inner life and your home life, and your relationship with groups of friends or causes or political organizations or corporations. Okay, so Aries rising. This for you is all about your public visibility and your visibility, your reputation. With Capricorn up there, you know, you've got this reputation as being at the top of your chart. You've got this reputation as being very driven, very, very strong, very achievement oriented, very much a leader. Aries rising is a leader. Capricorn at the top of the chart is also very much about leadership. But Mercury's been retrograde in there. And Gemini and Mars has been retrograde in your third house of learning, communication, the voice. You may be saying, I need to ease up about on this a little bit more, and kind of really just kind of put a different voice out in the world, and kind of loosen the restrictions of expressing what I really think and what I really believe. So you may be coming out with a new plan. Both Aries and Capricorn signs, which because Aries rising has Capricorn at the top of the chart, are very entrepreneurial. You could have even been rethinking a new business. You could be determined to build something new in your life, whether it's maybe a side business or a new business, or looking for a new role in the public life. So that's what's been going on for you, Aries rising, and it's going to start moving forward from now on. Taurus rising. Okay, this for you has been all about sources of expansion, inspiration, foreign lands, new cultures, learning about higher things, learning about new cultures, mastering something. And this Mercury retrograde period, you've probably been called to really reflect on those areas of life. Now, you have Capricorn in that area of life, which can mean that perhaps it could relate to a religious organization or culture, or that some kind of strong culture like that. And you may have been reflecting on your position in that culture. Mars is in the area of self-worth and self-esteem and how you earn your money. And with this adjustment, with your self-esteem and self-worth being affected by Mars in Mercury ruled Gemini in that area, you may be, say if you're a member of, I live in Utah, so say the Mormon Church or the LDS Church, you may have really been reflecting on your worth in relationship to that organization or structure. And you may be actually even prepared to leave it at this point. So it can be quite pretty big with those two adjustments with the Mars and Mercury. But otherwise it could be something as you could have been mastering or reflecting on mastering some form of higher education or learning. And with Mercury stationing direct, you may be ready to maybe take some college classes or go and study some other area of philosophy, some other area of learning, so that you really master something that will build up your self-worth. Gemini Rising, this for you is in all about intimacy. And by intimacy, I mean with your most deeply bonded relationships. This can be sexual intimacy, but it can also be soul intimacy and deep psyche, your own deep psyche. So intimacy with your deepest hidden self. And it can also be about shared finances. So with Mercury having gone retrograde in this area, you could have been reflecting on some changes that you want to make, perhaps in shared finances, creating new structures, new bank accounts, new things like that, new investments. But also at another level, Mercury could have been helping you to loosen any blocks from intimacy with those you are in deeply bonded relationships with, and including yourself. So you've probably done some deep mental exploration around your limiting beliefs and blocks, maybe about the finances, but maybe also about intimacy or sexual matters. And now Mercury's moving forward, so it's going to start to bring the change. Mars has been in the area of your appearance, your face you put on the world. So you could be integrating the two. You with Mars moving direct in Gemini now, you could be ready to take on some form of change of appearance and things to just improve your self-worth and self-esteem in your most deeply bonded relationships. That's another thing that could be happening for you. Cancer Rising. This for you is all about your significant relationships, but also about how you perhaps have blocks in significant relationships and how you've compromised yourself rather than kind of getting to the root of your limiting beliefs and blocks about all significant relationships. And by significant relationships, I mean it could be your partner, but other business relationships and adult children, good friends. With Mercury having gone through here and such a plethora of planets in Capricorn, you could be really working on loosening any limiting beliefs and also on reflecting about how you compromise your own values your own strengths and things for others, and or maybe even where you block others from your life. So there's been a lot of thinking about that. Mars is going through the area of that connection with the collective unconscious, and this aspect, this awkward aspect between Mars and Mercury, may have you learning to trust your intuition more with others, rather than expecting them to follow certain rigid rules and things like that. So Leo Rising, this for you is all about your, the Mercury retrograde has been all about your health, or health of others and animals, pets even, but also about your daily routines. There could have been some real disruption in those areas with this Mercury retrograde, and some things you've learned to master. You may have had to revisit something about your health, for example, or about a pet's health, or even about a family member's health, and also your daily routines to allow for adjustments. With having Capricorn in the area of those things for you, Leo Rising, you could probably be a little bit rigid about your routines and so on. And Mercury has been saying maybe you need to loosen up a little bit and give a little bit more, and perhaps share the load. You perhaps take everything on for yourself. And in groups and organizations where Mars has been traveling retrograde, you could have been reflecting on how you can delegate, share the load. Don't take everything on yourself and get this big weight on your shoulders. So as Mercury moves forward, you may be shedding some of that weight off your shoulders. Virgo, for you, this has been probably the nicest place to have a Mercury retrograde, because it's been all about what stops you from having joy and fun in your life. What lights your spirit up, Virgo? Virgo, you can be a little bit serious at times, Virgo Rising. You can be a little bit detail oriented. You can worry what other people think. This Mercury retrograde has been tearing the band-aid off any limiting beliefs and blocks you might have to experiencing some joy and fun in your life and letting that inner child play. If you have children, there could have been some reflection on what kind of parent you are. If you've been too stern, or if you have too many rigid rules with your children, and where you don't let them have joy and fun in your life. So as Mercury moves forward, I think there's going to be some more joy and fun in your life. Now, Mars has been retrograde in the area of your public life and visibility. So you may have been like the parent, if you have children, or the parent to your inner child that's kind of all work, no play. Well, Mercury and Mars have been saying, revisit that, shake things up a bit, shake up your routines a bit, and have more fun in your life. Libra, I think. Yes, Libra. This for you has been a very inner journey and in the home. And you literally could have like moved things around in your home in this one. But I think a lot of it has been about revisiting and rediscovering any blocks you have to the ability to explore your real inner feelings. Now, this is also the area of the family and the home and ancestors. So you could have been looking at the hierarchical energies in your family. You could have been reflecting on that, about where to loosen the bonds of some of those ancestral patterns or family patterns in your life, and kind of being the pattern breaker. With Mars up there in the area of sources of expansion and sources of experience of the divine, you may be saying, well, no, I need to find my own way. I don't need to follow these rigid kind of constructs that have been put on me by family patterns throughout my life. It's time to free that up and learn a different way. So you'll be working on that as Mercury and Mars gain speed. Scorpio. So this is for you, Scorpio. You may have had some reflection on your relationships with your siblings, or even your local community, but also about on your voice and learning and what information you take in. You may have been releasing any kind of limiting beliefs and blocks about certain community rules or sibling balance rules, or where you've perhaps let a sibling kind of be a little bit authoritarian with you, or where you've been authoritarian with a sibling. And there could have been some reflecting and revisiting of that could open up lines of communication tremendously between you and your siblings or your community, or with what you are taking in as well, what information you take in. You know, for example, you could always have read just the New York Times, and you might decide you need to widen the scope a little bit and read other information. And I'm only talking about news. You can extrapolate that to all kinds of any information that you take in. Capricorn can be a little bit rigid, and where Mercury has been retrograde and saying, no, these are the rules. Mercury's been asking us to revisit those rules a bit. So think about how that has affected you in terms of what information you take in and how you communicate with others. Sagittarius. Oh, come on, move. Sagittarius, last but not least. This is about your self-worth, your self-esteem, and how you earn your money. Capricorn is such a slow builder and slow grower, and it's all about achievement. And Mercury has been having you reflecting on how you grow and how you achieve and how you earn your money. Are the structures right, or are they not quite, or are they failing a little bit? Have you been a little bit rigid? Do you need to open up to other areas that not only might bring in more money, or do you might also just improve your feelings of self-worth and self-esteem? You know, for example, you know, if you're an entrepreneur, you could have been working a certain way, and then this Mercury retrograde may have had you thinking, I need to open up a little bit and perhaps add this or drop this and start this and create these new kind of structures. Mars is in the area of significant relationships, so that could suggest that maybe you need some collaboration and partnerships, okay, in your work. And if you are not an entrepreneur and if you're in business, then maybe you need to collaborate and partnership more in wherever you work. But whatever it does, this is about building self-esteem, rethinking what you need to do to build your self-esteem and your self-worth. And hopefully money will come with that as well. So that's all the signs. Thank you for listening. And I hope you'll subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And please let me know in the comments if you like it this way, if you like me just talking, or if you would rather I just share the charts again. And I know I'm going to get different answers because all this is Mercury and Gemini, but I still like to hear from you with it, which you would do. So for now, peace out and look out for the next video.